After surviving the console wars of the 1990s,
the Bit War veterans are invading your podcast to bring you gaming intel
and old tales.
We are your hosts,
Max Inventory,
Miao Te Ching, and we are the Bit War veterans.
Welcome, fellow video game veterans, and thank you for joining us on our very first podcast episode.
Episode 1.
The very first.
Why are we starting a podcast about video games? Aren't there enough video game podcasts out there already?
There most certainly are. So the Bit War Veteran Podcast is aiming to preserve the lost elements or disappearing elements of gaming from days past, the 80s, the 90s, the times that we grew up in, and hopefully share these experiences with new and upcoming gamers.
We also want to try to connect the old with the new, and the new with the old.
We're always looking for topics in current gaming news that we can definitely relate back to the past.
Back to the future.
Back to the future.
The adult you and the kid you are both still excited about games. We want to rekindle that fire in your heart.
We want to reach out to young gamers as well and share with them the experiences that, in many cases, they will never be able to have for themselves.
We really are the last of the analog generation, if you think about it.
More or less, and that includes even how we interface with the market itself. Whereas we used to be going to the stores, purchasing these games, we used to be going to rental shops, renting these games, talking to the clerk about their opinion, trying to read the magazines to get reviews, talking to friends on the playground, and all these are getting replaced. Digital downloads.
And podcasts. Ugh.
Podcasts. Video game trailers accessible through your phone.
The comment section.
Comment sections. Spoilers without spoiler alerts.
So really, you know, it's amazing to see how gaming has evolved over time from this thing. You know, it was like telling legends and secrets with your friends in the playground. But we have our little unique spin on, you know, telling you the tales of an era of gaming that is gone. No one else is going to know what it's like to blow in a cartridge or wind up a cassette tape with your pencil or, you know, the dreaded day the VCR garbles your VHS tape. So I think we're here to hit on nostalgia in the hearts of those who've been through these experiences and also share them with some of the younger people that will never know this element of gaming that's gone.
We hope to establish, in ways, a preservation of lost elements of gaming by sharing our stories and asking you, the audience, stories to share as well. So today we're going to kick off our discussions
with something that everybody loves.
Nintendo! Nintendo, what are you guys doing?
They are keeping secrets. That's what they're doing.
Mum's the word on the NX, even though we have a supposed and alleged launch date of March next year.
They have been keeping their lips sealed on this NX, but we have a little bit of information trickling out. I think one of the most exciting things for me is the information that Foxconn, which is the manufacturer in China that makes a lot of electronics, Foxconn is beginning production of NX units.
Well, that makes sense. Like we mentioned, it's supposed to be coming out in March, that first quarter of next year. But this is, I mean, that's hardly news, right? What else have we really gotten from the official Nintendo gods?
I think the Nintendo gods have really haven't said much about it.
Nothing.
I mean, I think we've kind of gathered information that it's going to be cartridge-based.
I think that did get confirmed.
And it's going to be some sort of portable hybrid that's also like kind of a console that you could play on TV or just, you know, take with you.
Right. And I remember the first couple of leaks, rumors, whatever, coming out. We're already confirming and talking about that. Some way to integrate handheld and home console, like an inverse of the Wii U system. What I find interesting is, number one, when the console is plugged into the TV, will it make use of the console screen and operate like a DS or / Wii U in that way?
I think that'll be up for developers to use.
Could be.
I don't know, but it's just kind of strange that Nintendo has this device that's about to come out, and we've heard next to nothing about it.
Yeah, that's the main point here. Is I don't know if they're making a mistake, but it's kind of not fair to show us Breath of the Wild, Zelda, the new Zelda game, and say that, oh yeah, this is on Wii U, but it's going to be on NX, and look to say. I guess what I'm getting at is Zelda the Breath of the Wild is the only game they've showed us that's going to be on the NX, and what we've seen looks identical to the Wii U hardware. So they haven't given us any information on what's under the hood, how this thing's officially going to operate, what the price is going to be, the sales model, anything.
Yeah, I really wish they
months.
would. I really wish they would release a price, because I think that helps people who really want it and, who might not instantly have all the money for it.
Especially teenagers.
Yeah, especially teenagers and kids and things like that. It'll give them time to kind of say, okay, I need to set a goal. I need to start saving up money. I need this much. I need to smash my piggy bank,
Well, yeah. I mean, we all used to do that, right? Like, I'm going to cut these lawns, and then I'm going to get some money on this birthday, and then and I'll have enough.
So the British retailer Tesco, they had a pre-order page on their website, but it was taken down shortly after it was published. Whoopsies. That's a sign that maybe Nintendo is starting to talk to some major retailers about availability, pre-ordering, prices, products, other words that start with P. It just makes me wonder, what is the reveal going to be like? Do you think Nintendo is going to say something, maybe in the beginning of October?
I feel like they absolutely have to say something soon, or that they are going to miss out on some momentum.
Right.
And again, allowing their fans to prep for it. However, it seems to me that they are safely counting on,
they're safely counting on everybody loving it.
Well, they're counting on their Wii U audience, probably nearly all of it, upgrading, and a fair amount of DS owners buying into this as well. And that right there is a pretty good starting point, I think.
It makes me worry a little bit when you said DS owners. It makes me worry a little bit, because let's think about it. If you've been a fan of the DS, you might have gotten an old fat one. You might have gotten a DS Lite. You might have gotten a DSi. And then now there's, the 3DS. Or do you have the new 3DS? Or maybe you upgraded to the new 3DS XL.
There are already very many DS models.
There are many DS models, and if you're a person who's been a fan of them, and you've bought maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or more types of DSs and 3DS,
especially if you're into the limited ones.
Yeah, like, are you really going to shell out the money for another Nintendo portable-ish system?
Where they could win is if they keep that price down, like the Wii, the original Wii.
Yeah, I felt that the Wii launched at a pretty affordable price.
200 or 230 or something?
I don't remember at all.
It was very cheap. Especially compared to the other guys who were trying to pull that $3.99, $2.99 stuff. Any more thoughts?
Yeah, one more thought.
Yes, meow.
So another leak at Foxconn. Apparently, an employee made a doodle of what this NX system kind of looks like.
You're talking about that goofy drawing leak?
Yeah, there's another one too.
Oh.
Yeah. It is not sophisticated in any way. It is very, this is a person who makes stick figures, okay? Let's put it that way.
We are not all artistically inclined.
We are not all artistically inclined. The person drew a picture of the controller, which is also the screen. They also drew a picture of what the console dock looked like, or what we think is a console dock, and also some mysterious other third rectangle. So is there 3 parts to this system? I don't know, but I guess people are getting their eyes on it. It's rolling out in production. Nintendo is getting things moving. It just makes me wonder, are they going to pull a Sega Saturn on us? Remember that? Do you remember what happened with the Sega Saturn launch?
I think the Sega Saturn launch was sped up and then released with very little notice to the press.
Correct. It released, and there were not enough consoles shipped to retailers.
Right. They were short of consoles, short on games.
They were short on consoles and games. I don't think Nintendo would do that, though. But then again, they would launch the Wii U without pretty much any fanfare. So at this point, I really don't know what to expect. What are your thoughts, Mr. Max Inventory?
This is one of the problems with not saying much, is that we have this wild speculation and goofy drawings going around misrepresenting what we're going to get, which is going to build false expectation in the consumer's eyes. So we need to hear something, Nintendo. We need to hear it now or soon. We got to hear something.
Well, Nintendo is making leaps and bounds into the mobile market. That we know for sure. With Pokemon Go, for example. Huge success, even though it's seen a pretty big dip in its player base recently. It's still generating a lot more money than all other mobile games to this date.
Yeah, I've heard some people joking about Pokemon Go and how players have dropped off, but I'm still saying that is, drop in the bucket. It's a few million out of a few 100 million. And I've seen a report recently that's saying that game is still producing $2 million a day. So if you think that's a drop-off or, not a success anymore, think again.
I think a lot of kids dropped off Pokemon Go because, they just went back to school. They're busy. The weather's getting colder. And I think as long as Niantic keeps pumping out good updates, when the weather starts warming up, and definitely in the summer when kids are out of school again, I think we're going to see another big bubble increase in Pokemon Go players.
When actual updates are coming, too.
Yeah.
Right, like this new buddy thing or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't play it, folks.
There's going to be like a buddy system. And the CEO has also talked about in future updates there being a battle mode, so something more like along the lines of the classic Pokemon RPG. So
I see that bringing in people.
Oh yeah, that'll bring in a ton more people, new people, and people who used to play who lost interest.
Well, aren't there 2 new games coming out, Sun and Moon?
Yeah,
Actual games?
Pokemon Sun and Moon will be out on the Nintendo 3DS, and I think when that comes out, we'll see an increase in Pokemon Go players, just because people are just going to be generally more interested in devouring any Pokemon content there is.
The kids who can't get the game and jealous of their friends having it, so they just download the free app.
Yeah, we'll probably see some of that too.
But absolutely, I get like that too when I'm hyped about something. If there are some any kind of extra material, I'll try and swallow it up. Star Wars has had some great comics surrounding its new incarnation. They've been good. Some new TV shows. Star Wars Rebels Season 3 has started. I could totally see more Pokemon Go players coming back once Sun and Moon kick it off.
And once there's some actual good sun in the world again, it's winter. Well, winter will be upon us soon. And no one's going to be going outside if it's cold.
But isn't that really a concept? If you're launched all over the world, even as the seasons change, there's still going to be somebody playing it more.
Right. And like I said, as long as they keep updating the game with some fresh new content, maybe some Generation 2 Pokemons, and improving how you find and catch them, train them, etc. I think you're always going to get old and new players coming into the game.
And around the world, this hasn't even launched in South Korea and China yet.
Yes.
Think about it. Think about it. They love this stuff. Pokemon is huge in South Korea. I really am not sure about China, but yeah, I mean, come on. It appeals to kids everywhere. Pokemon Go is out in at least like 75, 80 countries already, and that doesn't even include China and South Korea. Those are huge markets that already have Pokemon established.
And we're only going to see the numbers of this game increase from the point it's at right now.
Absolutely. So, bravo, Niantic, bravo, Nintendo, and your $2 million a day at its peak. What was it? Something like
$16 million a day at its peak. It's now at about $2 million a day at its peak. But remember, most of this money goes to Niantic, and then the rest of the profits are split by the Pokemon Company, Game Freak Incorporated, Creatures Incorporated, and Nintendo.
The app stores also get a cut.
And the app stores get a cut. And, Nintendo's cut really isn't that big in the long run. Niantic gets most of the money of this.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, speaking of Nintendo and mobile games, we have more Nintendo mobile news coming at you.
Got Mario Touch. Touch Mario.
That's not what it's called.
Tap Mario's head. What's it called?
Super Mario Runner.
Okay.
Hang on, let me make sure it's Super Mario Runner.
This sounds like an Olympic game.
It is called Super Mario Run. Mr. Miyamoto of Nintendo.
Mario Moto, that's what I call him.
Miyamarioto? Yeah, so at Apple's iPhone 7 event, Mr. Miyamoto of Nintendo surprised everyone by walking out on stage and announcing this game, which is pretty phenomenal. This is the first time we're going to see a Mario game on a mobile platform. Is he running away from consoles?
He's running into your phones, running into your fingers. You have to touch him. You make him jump by touching him, right?
Right. Yeah, he just runs in a straight line forward in kind of a 2.5 dimensional Mario world. Kind of looks like the new Super Mario Brothers games. So
right.
He just runs forward and you tap the screen to make him jump. You have to time your jumps to get him to jump onto Goombas or to get coins. We see there's double jump. It looks like there's a little bit of maybe a little bit of puzzling in there.
It seems to be for kids.
Yeah, it seems to be for
I have no interest.
A very, very casual audience. I'm sure there's plenty of Mario fans and Nintendo fans and video game fans that will download this and try it out. Probably I will too.
It's not that bad. It's just that I don't play any games on my phone, so don't take it personally, Nintendo.
Yeah, I really don't game on my phone either. I just usually use it to look up stuff on the internet and play music and send texts and avoid phone calls.
What else did they do? The Miitomo app? I don't know if they've even added anything to that since it came out.
They have.
Yeah.
They've added...
What's going on in there? I know you played with it, but...
Yeah, I played with it.
It's not something to take seriously, it seems.
It's not really even much of a game, and that's why I kind of lost interest. It was kind of like a dress-up game, very minimal social network, kind of, because you could make friends and talk to each other, sort of, and answer questions and, make comments and do all things like that. But, and then you could play little mini games to get money to buy yourself outfits and take cute pictures. And it was kind of boring. I uninstalled it. At least with Super Mario Run, it's going to be a game, and that could keep people interested, and it'll be interactive.
Kids are going to love it.
Kids are going to love it, and I think it's going to appeal to a much broader audience. Younger kids, not super familiar with the Mario franchise. It's going to interest a lot of casual players, maybe non-Mario players to get into the franchise. And I think we're going to see a lot of Nintendo fans try it out, even if they're not too hot on the idea of Mario on a mobile platform or mobile gaming in general. I think there'll be enough interest to get a new audience and a breath of fresh air for an old audience.
I wonder if the mobile and app games will be available for the Nintendo NX, seeing as how they're banking on this being portable.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Maybe if you own a Nintendo NX, you'd be able to buy these apps or maybe even get them for free.
Especially not all kids have phones.
Right.
So then they could still have access to these games. Nintendo could have access to the chance to make more money off you. Another movement for that, I think, is to have another stream of revenue coming in now that they're merging their console and portable markets with the Nintendo NX.
And I bet you there's crazy people out there who will buy it on their phone and they will buy it again on their NX.
Absolutely.
So what's next in the world of gaming?
Bethesda Software's Fallout 4 and Skyrim are not receiving mods on the PlayStation, and Bethesda is blaming Sony.
Ooh.
Sony has a rigorous process for playtesting and approving everything that gets published on their machines, and I guess they're not loosening the screws at all for Bethesda.
Yeah, Bethesda was hoping the modding community would have the opportunity to make whatever kind of mods they wanted to. And apparently Sony doesn't really like that idea. And Bethesda said, if we can't have mods the way we want it, we're not going to have any mods at all.
And this is pretty interesting in light of the Xbox being allowed to mod freely, just like they would on PC. I really appreciate that Xbox is allowing their modding communities to continue. Because this goes all the way back to the old days of when games used to be shareware. We used to be able to mod them freely. And there were entire franchises that exist now born out of these mods. Like, what does everybody know? Counter-Strike. Dota. These games are esports now, generating lots of money. And they started because of mods, user community mods. The more freedom we lose with modding, I think, is going to hurt the industry. It's going to limit our exposure and our experiences and the ability to create something new, because not everyone has a damn 15 to 150 person studio to work on a game from the ground up. So it's really nice to allow young blood and poor blood to get in there and see what they can do with your system.
Plus, that garnishes interest in developing games in general. I mean, how many people in the gaming industry now started off?
That's what I'm getting at.
Because they were modding games or downloading mods or, tweaking files and just kind of cracking open the codes of games and seeing what's in there.
Being able to mod allows new talent who don't have the means and abilities to go to school, to be part of a studio, to develop things, to develop interesting content that can drive whole new franchises, as we've seen before with Counter-Strike, Dota.
Gary's mod for Half-Life.
Minecraft. The whole thing is mods.
Yeah.
Look at the content put out there. The amount of modding.
And look how strong the Minecraft community is. And that's all because it's user-driven.
So I find it really interesting that PlayStation is going to keep the gate shut on that, and I think they're shooting themselves in the feet.
So speaking of companies and supporting the modding community, we have two completely different views coming out of two of the biggest names in gaming, and that's Sega and Nintendo. So we have Nintendo in one corner, issuing out DMCA takedown notices like candy. They recently took down fan-made games like Pokemon Uranium.
It was a Metroid sequel?
Yeah, another Metroid. And they also took down a bunch of games on Game Jolt. I mean, like hundreds of games that were using various Nintendo assets. Nintendo is getting a pretty bad reputation for flexing their legal arm on people.
Meanwhile, after the Game Grumps, a popular YouTube channel, played the fan game Green Hill Paradise Act 2, which is a Sonic riff, an unofficial Sonic sequel, Sega's official Sonic the Hedgehog YouTube account commented on the video, and it said, BRB, DMCA time. Just kidding. Keep making great stuff, Sonic fans. And let's face it, Sonic and Sega probably doesn't have the clout they used to. And they probably don't have to worry about protecting their brand quite as much as Mario. Remember how excited everyone was about The Last Guardian at E3?
Well, it's been delayed, so...
The Last Guardian has been delayed. So
it'll be coming out early December. Luckily, it will be out before the holiday season, so you could still have a merry little Christmas or happy Hanukkah or non-religious Christmas time celebration of choice.
You could watch other people get it as a gift.
Yeah.
Thanks to Twitch. Unboxing videos.
Yeah, those are hot.
And when people get it day one and you don't, you give watch them play.
Sure, yeah. So The Last Guardian's coming out in December. Delay, delay, delay. That's the name of the game today, is Delay. Last Guardians got delayed, and later on we're going to be talking about another game that's been delayed, Final Fantasy 15. But first,
we're going to do what we like to call the Game & Watch Radar, where we take a quick look at games in development that we think you should look at or might be interested in. Our first game on the radar is Tokyo 42. It's the love child of Syndicate and Grand Theft Auto.
it is a third-person isometric shooter. Also looks like a puzzle game, somewhat like a more violent Captain Toad.
Yeah, an open world action title, and I guess it's taking place in this like neo-future Japan. Open world single player competitive multiplayer. You should check out the pre-alpha announcement trailer for it on YouTube.
Tokyo 42 is being developed by SMAC Games. Or is it SMAC?
Do they want to be called Smack? SMAC?
I'm not sure how you say it. It's being published.
Smack.
You do smack.
Maybe they like Smack.
It's being published by Mode 7. And it features local and online multiplayer, which is pretty cool, as well as a single-player mode. It's coming out early 2017. There's no official release date other than early 2017, and it's going to be on Steam. It looks really interesting. It kind of has the isometric view of like a Final Fantasy Tactics game. Very bright, colorful, smooth graphics. Like I said, it's very Captain Toad's Treasure Hunter-esque level design and graphics, but you are doing some platforming, and you are doing some shooting. Shooting.
The next game on our radar is Drawn to Death.
Drawn to Death is a multiplayer, third-person shooter arena-style game. Think something like Quake. And it's being developed by David Jaffe, who, if you're familiar with Twisted Metal, Twisted Metal, does that ring a bell for anyone? It is another arena multiplayer beat 'em up, bash 'em up type of a game. So Drawn to Death, it definitely looks really awesome. It's got this very unique art style.
This game looks great. It's got a great graphical style and art style. It's taking place inside the hand-drawn pages of a notebook. So all your characters look animated and cartoonish inside of a hand-drawn backdrop that's like a 3D diorama or a pop-up book. I don't know who could have owned a PlayStation and not played at least one of the Twisted Metal games. They were awesome. Everybody's played Twisted Metal.
I mean, that was one of the big multiplayer titles for the PlayStation 1. You know, Nintendo had its N64 with Smash Brothers. PlayStation 1 had Twisted Metal. It's being developed for the PlayStation 4. As of right now, there's no information about if it's being developed for any other platforms. And the development company is David Jaffe's new company, which he made, and I think we have to read it on the air. It's called, get this.
I like this.
Yes. The Bartlett Jones Supernatural Detective Agency.
It's fantastic.
That's his game development company.
Sounds like one of those whimsical kids movies or something.
I think the Beatles had a song.
Yeah.
that was named this.
Mr. Bartlett Jones.
He sold them acid. It's also being developed by SIE San Diego And it's being published by Sony. As of right now, there's no release date. But I think fans of old school Quake and Twisted Metal, and just good old-fashioned competitive four-person shooters should definitely check Drawn to Death out.
I'm definitely pointing out the Twisted Metal aspect because in the trailer for this game, it looks like it has the kind of speed and intensity that game had of running around and stuff blowing up just constantly around you. Oh, there's always a target, and you are always a target. It's so unique, you just have to go look it up for yourself. Search on YouTube the trailer for Drawn to Death. Now it's time to tell the tales. We come up with a topic or question that we put out on Twitter for you to answer. The official Twitter is
BitWarVets. That's at BitWarVets. Our topic was video game trading regrets.
We all have them.
Yes.
Most of us.
So I'm going to start off by reading some of the tweets that we've received, and then after that, we'll kind of talk about our own little personal experiences. But first, let's hear from you.
First up,
we have Atari Barbie.
Atari Barbie, thanks for writing in.
Oh, man. Atari Barbie traded in their PS2 and all of their games for a Nintendo DS Fat Edition.
Woo!
And they never played it. Oh, ouch.
You got a portable and never ported it.
It's so many amazing PlayStation 2 RPGs and PlayStation 1 games that I gave up for a handheld. If only I could turn back time.
Oh, if you could turn back time, we'd keep it all, wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for writing in.
We have Ocarina of Dan.
Good name, Dan.
He traded in his boxed copies of Pokemon back in the day, and it cost him a bomb to rebuy them.
Oh, he didn't mention what he traded him in for, huh?
No, just that he traded them in.
Whatever it was, probably wasn't worth the memory.
So we have J Gangsta 187. Sold his Super Nintendo and all the games at a garage sale to pay for his, oh, this is kind of cute, his 5th grade Disney World trip.
Ooh,
Aww.
But I bet you want all those games back instead of the memory of going there, which is probably already faded.
So he says, cut to 10 years later, I'm trading in PlayStation 2 games to buy back my childhood. And what was one of the games he traded in? Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Ooh.
Ouch. That really took him for a ride.
Thanks for writing in.
All right, we have Begin with the End. Not a trade-in, but his mom gave away his N64 he had as a kid to the cleaning lady.
I bet she didn't even ask.
And it was the Pikachu N64.
Oh, come on. You couldn't even trade in my cruddy old regular gray-black one. Had to be the Pikachu one, ma.
Yeah, right. We have VG Dad Plays. VG Dad Plays got rid of his entire NES library and his console because he got a Super Nintendo.
Well, why would you need the Nintendo? You got the Super version. Come on.
Oh, come on,
Smart
dummy.
move.
Oh, what a dummy. Oh, VG Dad.
Why would you want to play Duck Hunt again? I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
That stupid dog laughing at you.
We have the Kodiak. Sold his GameCube and games for money to feed his Dance Dance Revolution addiction.
Now, I wonder if that was for quarters at the arcade or if he means like buying expensive pads for the home version and all the copies of the different mixes.
He doesn't say, but that'd be interesting to find out. Okay, we have Sage Fur 05. Traded in his copies of Metal Gear Solid, The Twin Snakes. He could be playing that on his Wii right now. Mm-hmm. That was the biggest regret he'll ever have.
That was an awesome GameCube game. That was a remake of the very first Metal Gear Solid, and they got all the voice actors to come back. And I only got to play through it once because I never owned a GameCube at the time, but I played it on some of these, and it was beautiful.
We have Pieces of Bits.
These are great names, y'all. Pieces of Bits.
All right, he traded in the first 3 Mega Man X games towards wait for it, a 32X.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
Now, is he kidding? 3
no.
Mega Man X games for a 32X?
It still hurts for him to think about it.
I'm sure.
And he says, even worse, one of the guys at the shop threw away the boxes while the other guy was ringing up the 32X.
That's the old days when that stuff was art. Why would you destroy that? Why would you destroy that? That is art.
Well, back then, people just thought, oh, it's the box. Who cares? And now, games with boxes fetch for insanely high prices.
Absolutely. That's who cares. Us.
We have our last tweet for trade-in regrets.
Yeah, one more thing to say about that. I like the 32X for what it is. I certainly never bought it, whatever. But there's, I don't think, one game that is comparable or even half as good as any of those Mega Man X games. I feel bad for you, brother.
Our last tweet is from Smiles880.
Smiles.
So he remembers getting a golden N64 controller for his birthday. So he already had the system with the regular controller, all of his games, and he got the golden controller for his birthday, right?
Like James Bond playing your N64 with that.
So he traded all of that in, all of it, for an Xbox.
Ooh,
he said that was the worst decision of his life.
Yes. Well, thank you. I've got my similar story to share. I went to trade up, and it was at a time when I had started playing Xbox at a friend's house and played this wonderful game called Halo. And man, did I love that experience. I thought it was the best console shooter experience I had ever had up until that point. And I was already a big fan of PC shooters, Counter-Strike particularly. And the fact that it was sci-fi, this is like Valhalla for me right there. So I took in that PS2. I felt like I had played everything I could, and I had all my games in pristine condition, and traded it all in. All these marvelous RPGs.
Now, did you have any rare or special or, hard to find or kind of cult classic games as you traded in?
Definitely classics. I don't know about how hard it is to find some of this stuff since I'm not actively picking up PS1 and 2 games right now. But I had the big stuff, I had any and every Final Fantasy. I think I had one of the anthologies, not the other one. Whichever one I had, I didn't have the other one. So you're talking Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 for PS1. 12
and 10.
And 10 for the PS2. I certainly did not buy an X2. Oh my god. There was Chrono Cross for PS1. There was Xenogears. I had the first Xenosaga.
Did you have the Resident Evils for PlayStation?
I definitely had Resident Evil 2 when it had originally come out. I'm pretty sure I got my hands on the director's cut eventually. Because that's about around the time when I finally got PlayStation. PlayStation 2, I had pretty much all the Metal Gears. Metal Gear Solid, the VR missions, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear 3.
I mean, you definitely gave up some classics and some staples.
It was like a whole freaking library. What the hell was I thinking?
For an Xbox with Halo.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure the trade-in that I got was more than just that. I probably bought a couple of controllers, and who knows? Probably put a pre-order on Halo 2. So ultimately, I took in my PlayStation 1 library with my PlayStation 2 and its library and traded it all in because I felt like I was just done. That I wasn't really going to ever really worry about playing these games again because, after all, a lot of them took 40 hours to beat. Why would I want to do that again, right?
Ha ha ha, joke's on you.
I mean, what was I thinking? I probably didn't have a job at the time. That was one problem. How about you, Meow? How about you? Meow. Teaching.
On the flip side, I don't have very many trade-in regrets because I really haven't traded in many games before. I get real possessive about my stuff. I don't really trade in games. I have everything from the earliest of what I have in my collection, which is Super Nintendo and Game Boy. And I have that PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, N64, GameCube, all the handhelds, etc., and...
It's true. We've merged collections. Little Miss Meow Ching keeps on to all her things.
Yes, the only thing I really remember trading in was my DS Lite for a DSi.
A trade up.
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest with you, I wish I still would have kept it just because that's like the one system I had and I don't have anymore. And then I traded in like my Xbox copies of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim and Oblivion when I got a decent gaming laptop. And I said, I don't need the console versions anymore. I'm downloading this on Steam.
Yeah, that's actually true.
So I don't regret those trade-ins, but those are literally the only 2 trade-ins I've ever made in my life.
But Meow Ching used to work for a GameStop for a little while. So she does have a story or two from there.
I worked there for maybe about 8 months. It was definitely less than a year. And the store I was working at was one of the ones that GameStop closed down. They closed down about somewhere between 200 and 300 stores a couple of years ago. And ours was one of them that got the X. Yay! But I remember these 2 trade-in events as being kind of humorous. So there was this one time, this older gentleman walks in the store. He's got gray hair and he's wearing a baseball cap. I think his hair was a little bit long, too.
Some hippie burnout?
Kind of gave out hippie burnout vibes. And then he goes up to the front counter and plops down, I believe it was Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I think that was the game he plopped down, Modern Warfare 4. And he goes like, oh man, I just bought this game from you guys the other day, and I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm just so clueless.
How do you not get Call of Duty?
And so
point and shoot. Move. Shoot. Move some more. Shoot.
So I'm trying not to laugh at this, and then it really becomes apparent why he can't understand how to do it, because when he puts the case on the counter to return it, it reeks like weed.
Uh-oh.
Like this guy must have, broken up his stash on top of it or something.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know. I'm like, sir, maybe you should try not smoking all of the weed before you play a game. I didn't tell him that, but I wish I wanted to. So he goes up and, I do the refund and he wants to get another game. And he comes back up to the counter with like some really crappy like paintball game.
Oh, Lord.
For the Xbox 360.
I'm sure that's top notch.
I'm sure that's even less understandable than Call of Duty, right?
Yeah, I always see the paintball shooters at the top of the charts.
Yeah. With reason.
I mean, top seller. You can't even find used copies of those for like $2 because they're so good.
So, yeah, he really wanted this paintball game, and, what could I do but just sell it to him? Why not? Well, you know what? He never came back in, so maybe he got
Must have been happy with it, yeah.
I guess.
He died on the way home because he can't even think straight. Hate to say that. You have another tale to tell.
There's one more that sticks out in my head of the short time I worked at GameStop. So first off, GameStop has a policy. If you trade in a game, it has to be pre-owned, meaning...
Pre-chewed.
Used, meaning it has to be opened. So in walks this lady, and right off the bat, I notice she is a rather large lady. Don't mean to be mean, but this is true. Morbidly so. And she walks up to the counter, and she's with her family, and plops down a sealed copy of Wii Fit and says, I want to trade it in. And I have to say no, because it's still sealed.
Of course it is. Of course it is. You saw someone walking towards you who needs to buy 2 plane tickets for herself.
Yeah, so...
Of course it's sealed.
I had to turn her away. So she just leaves the store with her family. Then she comes back a couple hours later, like right before we close, and she comes in like I'm not gonna remember her.
She was probably hoping for a shift turnover.
Right? And I work evenings. So anyways, she plops it down on the counter again, but it's not wrapped anymore.
She played it.
I hope she played it.
She went home and played it.
If she played it, it might save her life. But yeah, so then it was technically used. It was opened. So we traded it in for her. I think she ended up getting like a DS game or something for her kid. But yeah, good stuff. Retail.
I'm just curious. Was it bought for the kids? Or did someone buy it for her?
I got a feeling someone bought it for her as a gift, and there was no receipt.
That's the feeling I'm getting.
That's the feeling I got, in all honesty.
They're like, oh, she's got a Wii.
She could lose a few pounds.
Maybe this game could help save her life. Maybe that's what you should have done. You should have said, ma'am, take this game home and actually try it. It will save your life.
Maybe.
If Wii Fit has saved your life out there, I want you to leave us a story at our Twitter.
So you could tweet me directly. This is my personal Twitter account directly. It's Meowteching. That's at MEOWTECHING. Or you could talk to us directly, the Bit War Veterans podcast. So that's me and Max Inventory. And that's at Bit War Vets, BITWARVETS.
Eventually, we'd like you all to be followers and posting on the Bit War Vets so we can build a community.
Right. Because we want to include a lot of interaction. And I know a lot of you have your stories to tell. And like you said, we're here to kind of preserve this time in gaming.
Archive, document.
And we want to preserve your experiences as well as ours.
Hey, Meow, do you know what game we could have been playing today?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15.
Yes, Final Fantasy 15 has been delayed once again. Its new release date is slated for November 29th, so it's not that far away, but my god, when we've been waiting almost 10 years for this game, it feels like forever.
What's a few more months, right?
Right.
Well, to be honest, we wouldn't be playing it anyways because we don't own a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One. And quite frankly, I'd rather have a PlayStation 4 than an Xbox One.
But quite frankly,
I want to play it on PC.
Right. Final Fantasy 1 revolutionized RPGs on consoles, and Squaresoft made a lot of money from it, and they were able to continue development.
And have been.
And they have been doing it for many, many years. But now Square Enix is in a position where it's definitely spent a lot of money developing this over 10 years.
Well, could you imagine what would have happened if the game had launched today and there was let's say 20 gigabyte patch for it?
Oh, that would be awful. I mean, imagine waiting 10 years for a game, and then you go and you buy the game or you download the game, and you're waiting for all that to get finished, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down and play it. And then you turn it on, and it says, well, we have an update that you have to download, and it's 20 gigabytes. So go make a sandwich. You're not playing this right now.
Make a sandwich, more like go to work.
Yeah.
With some of these games and their downloads, depending on if there was a queue or what if it's crashed, because this game has a potential to have tens of millions. This is a simultaneous worldwide release. This isn't region. This is tens of millions potentially across the world trying to download a patch on day one.
So one of the main reasons why Final Fantasy 15 was delayed is because Tabata has stated that there would have to be a very large day one patch to make this game work smoothly. Crystal clear on both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And he did not want to do that. He would rather delay his game another couple of months to polish out these last couple of details and then release it to the public and not have to have a gigantic day one patch.
With the main point, or the main focus being on the on-disc game being as complete as it possibly can for those who cannot have the access to download these patches, and think about in the future where today's gaming is retro gaming, and there may not be Square servers with these patches available for download anymore.
Right. So personally, I think it was a smart decision to delay the game.
Absolutely.
Because I think you need to have a very good first impression when you launch the game.
A game that has had eyes on it and expectations for 10 years.
If you recall, Final Fantasy 15 started off originally as Final Fantasy 13 Versus. It was going to be an offshoot game of the Final Fantasy 13 franchise, but it was in development for such a long time. The plan was kind of scrapped and changed around, and many of the assets of 13 Versus became 15.
And that is a point we need to make here, that Final Fantasy 13 was so underwhelmingly received that they had to scrap the two sequels and convert them into two different games, which is Type 0 and now Final Fantasy 15. And they made two other sequels for 13 that were just as useless as 13 itself. Could you imagine if Final Fantasy 15 performs like Final Fantasy 13?
Yeah, I don't think Final Fantasy fans are in for another botched launch, because the Final Fantasy 13 was a little bit underwhelming and a lot of people did not like it very much. Final Fantasy 14, when it first launched, do you remember when it first launched?
Oh yeah,
it
unlaunched.
It unlaunched itself. It launched itself out of the universe. It was not well received. There were many complaints. Numbers were low. And Final Fantasy XIV was taken offline for a while and completely reworked into the game that we now know as A Realm Reborn. But let's think about it. Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy XIV, both were underwhelming at launch. And I think Square Enix can't handle another Final Fantasy game falling flat on its face day one.
No. And I think the having to have had a major patch and the on-disc game being rickety would have really hurt the fan base, and it would have been extremely hard to recover from it PR-wise.
Indeed, and we know how much, well, we don't know exactly how much money they've spent over the years making this game. They have given us a little bit of indication that they need to sell 10 million copies of this game worldwide in order for it to be profitable. 10
million, wow. Now, I think they can do it. I really do. But it's got to be a solid game. Otherwise, it's going to pull a No Man's Sky where 10 million were purchased and many are not played or returned after playing it for a little while.
Mm-hmm. The gaming industry right now is pretty volatile, with games taking extra time in development and then not delivering on content they say would be in the game. So they're releasing this game in a very tough market right now.
They've already taken a lot of their older games that they've re-released on the DS and on the PlayStation networks and put them on PC and Steam. So why can't we see a Final Fantasy 15 on PC?
Right. One of the main reasons this game was delayed was because of optimization issues, because Final Fantasy 15 was developed on high-end gaming PCs, and the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One both had trouble rendering and displaying a lot of the textures and keeping steady frame rates. So a lot of this delay and a lot of the man-hours spent in recent times was spent trying to optimize this game. So if the game was already developed on high-end PCs, why not release it on PC on Steam and tackle a whole new audience like me who would buy it for PC?
And their optimization is to lock the game into 30 frames per second. So PCs can most definitely be playing this game at 60 frames per second with the higher textures. That if you watch the trailers of this game evolving over time, you can see as we're getting closer to launch, inconsistencies in the graphical quality. You could tell they're definitely paring some things down to make it work on these consoles.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Square Enix doing things for PC, we have the Final Fantasy VII remake coming out.
I think, and you were with me when they announced the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh, yes.
I was saying that they're afraid Final Fantasy 15 isn't going to perform well, and they've got 7 ready and waiting on the back burner to make them a bunch of money if it doesn't, because they know people will eat 7 for every penny they sell it for.
Final Fantasy 15 is kind of putting Square Enix, the company, on the edge of a cliff. It's been in development for so long. It's definitely a huge money hog and resource on them. It's been rumored and suggested that the reason why Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't developed as far along as it should be is because of Final Fantasy 15 development. If Final Fantasy 15 doesn't make the numbers it needs to make in order for it to be profitable, I think Square Enix will have to rely on the Final Fantasy VII remake to make cash again. And we might even see them downsize as a company after that.
Yeah, I believe if they did sell short, they would downsize and we would see them making much more mobile and Nintendo DS content. That's another place they do well, is their portable games.
Square Enix is in a tough position today, and that kind of reminds me of Squaresoft and the tough position they were in many years ago when they were developing Final Fantasy 1.
The very first.
The very first one.
They thought it might be the very last.
Correct. The story goes, they were developing Final Fantasy 1, and they believed that Squaresoft, their studio, was not doing financially well, and that it would go under, and that Final Fantasy would be the last game they make, and that's why it was named Final Fantasy. It was going to be the last game.
It was a make or break title, and looks like 15 might be in that similar position.
So I think if we see 15 flounder and flop, it might be another Final Fantasy scenario for Square Enix.
Mm-hmm. With 7 as the safety net. The 7 safety net.
And I think Square Enix could also fall back on remaking some of their old games. Like right now, they are remaking Final Fantasy 12. They're doing an HD remake.
If you do have a PlayStation, you could look forward to Final Fantasy 12 getting an HD upgrade remastering with new features coming out next year.
And I think Square Enix could maybe ride the wave on remaking some of their older Final Fantasy games, even if Final Fantasy 15 kind of flops. I think that could be the only thing that saves the company. That and Kingdom Hearts 3, hello.
It's out there somewhere. We're going to get it someday.
Eventually, someday, we'll get Kingdom Hearts 3.
But most if not all of these HD remakes have been ported to PC. So I really look forward to hopefully seeing Final Fantasy 12 HD, and they're calling it the Zodiac Age, on PC.
Although, just to let you know, it's not been confirmed for PC, only PlayStation.
You can search for gameplay trailers. It was featured at one of the recent, I think, the Tokyo Game Show. They had a lot of gameplay. This game looks like it was made for PlayStation 3 now. This also features a couple new modes. where you can increase the speed by 2 or 4 times so you could run around the world a lot faster. There's balance changes and optimizations. There's a trial mode where you basically almost do like horde modes and you survive as long as you can. There's a new Zodiac job system that improves the old license board leveling system. So I'm really looking forward to this. You can search on the interwebs for some gameplay footage of that. Square Enix fans all over the world rejoice. We will eventually get Final Fantasy 15 on November 29th.
So we want to thank you all for bearing with us and listening all the way through episode 1 of the Bit War Veterans podcast.
If you've made it this far, you're a veteran of this podcast.
We've lived to tell the tale, and we hope to hear from you guys and girls about your tales as well. Our podcast is going to be twice a month, every other week. We'll have the latest news in every episode. We'll feature brand new games coming out that we think are worth checking out. We'll have our main discussion topics, and we'll also be taking in comments, questions, and responses from you.
If you like what you heard, follow us on Twitter to continue to support us and interact with us. You could be part of the show. Perhaps your tale will get told.
And if you want to support our podcast in our age of infancy, please follow us on Twitter, BitWarVeterans, at BitWarVets. That's at BitWarVets.
And stay tuned for future episodes coming down the pipe.
We hope you enjoyed episode 1, and I hope you stick around to listen to episode 2, coming out not next week, but the week after that.